In my time as an active part of the Attack on Titan fandom, I've gone on record saying that I think Bertholdt Hoover, the Colossal Titan, is a better character than Reiner, the Armored Titan, which has obviously caused lots of controversy and backlash from fans of Reiner. Reiner is an exceptionally beloved and popular character, with even Isayama himself naming him as one of his favorites on various occasions. On the other hand, Bertholdt isn't so highly regarded, and mostly forgotten due to his low screen time and more reserved personality, as well as his generally forgettable character design and lack of meaningful character moments. However, there is a lot of depth hidden in the details of his subtle yet thematically rich character arc, and with this video I am going to explain why I think Bertholdt is one of the most underrated, compelling, unique and complex characters in Attack on Titan. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I hope it gives you a new perspective on the iconic Colossal Titan and the method to his madness. Let's start by discussing Bertholdt's upbringing. Not much is known about his parents, but we do know that his father died shortly before the raid on Liberio, probably due to Bertholdt's death and his guilt for it. Or it was just from old age, who knows. Bert's past is the most mysterious of the warriors, which actually contributes to his general concept as a character. We also know that Bertholdt probably had similar goals and motivations to Reiner, due to Isayama saying so in an interview once. This is not surprising given his warrior status, but it is useful info for understanding Bertholdt nonetheless. With this information, we can now put together the puzzle of why Bertholdt has such a stoic and unique personality. One of the reasons he isn't that popular is that he is a very quiet character. He doesn't speak up much, and so people don't engage with him emotionally as much as someone like Reiner, who has plenty of emotional character moments that tell us all we need to know about his mental state. That itself is an important trait of Bertholdt that makes him far more interesting to me. He is the strong silent type. While Reiner wears his heart on his sleeve, Bertholdt keeps his thoughts to himself, and this creates a sort of mystery of what he is truly thinking, what his drives and goals are, and in the end, what his character is truly about thematically and what he brings to the larger story. So, who is Bertholdt really, and what type of person is he on the inside? Well, he is similar to Reiner in that he is a reactionary character, which means that he lets other people dictate his actions. But unlike Reiner, who actively struggles and conflicts with this part of himself, wanting to be recognized by his peers and truly bring about a change in the status quo, Bert is content to stay reactionary, and in the end, his character revolves around his inability to make decisions for himself. This is because from the moment he was born, Bertholdt's life has been dictated by others, and therefore he never had a chance to make decisions for himself. This upbringing formed his very reclusive personality. He learned to keep his emotions in check and be a perfect warrior. This self-dehumanization of sorts is perfectly shown to have been caused by Marley's brainwashing. At this moment, where Bertholdt is seen as the mere host of the Colossal Titan instead of himself. He is referred to by his last name and is said to be able to handle it. He is seen as the Colossal Titan and not as himself. This affects him psychologically much more than Reiner due to his inherently timid personality. He was born like this, and Marley's treatment of him only made that part of him more prominent in his personality. He pushes the most active part of himself deep down due to his naturally more timid nature. Now that we have figured out why Bertholdt is so obedient, let's break down how he grows and develops throughout the story. While Bertholdt is good at keeping his emotions in check, he isn't 100% stoic, which is proven by his breakdown when confronted with the people he betrayed. When questioned by his former comrades on why he has done so much harm to innocent people, he begs them to understand him and his complex situation in a purely emotional moment of weakness. He spills his heart out to them, telling them how much guilt he truly feels deep down for hurting them. Regardless of Bertholdt's stoic personality, there are things that trigger him, things that make him human like the rest of us. We are social animals, and therefore we seek out companionship, and when those connections we make are broken, it can be hard to emotionally recover. Bertholdt is a prime example. He truly loved his friends, he didn't want to hurt them, but he was conditioned to by Marley, and pushed his personal feelings away in order to carry out the duty that has been forced upon him.
トギちゃん、確かにみんな騙したけど全てが嘘じゃない。本当に仲間だと思ってたよ。僕らに謝る資格なんてあるわけない。けど誰かお願いだ。誰か僕らを見つけてくれ。
Another example of him breaking under pressure is his extreme reaction to Armin's lies about Annie being tortured. This crush he has on her is a unique character trait that makes it so he isn't a blank slate but a genuine and caring person underneath his facade. I think a contributing factor as to why Bert likes Annie is that she is more rebellious. Since he is a very complacent and content individual who doesn't stand up to Marley's injustice, seeing Annie defy orders and pretty much not even care about the mission surely made her more attractive to him. This is just a theory, of course. His crush on her probably was trivial and surface level, but hey, stories are meant to be analyzed, and I try to come up with a believable reason as to why Bert actually likes Annie. Bertholdt's character arc concludes in the Return to Shiganshina arc. A huge responsibility is put on Bertholdt, as this is the first time he has been trusted to act alone and make his own decisions during a high-stakes battle. He is overwhelmed by this, not knowing what to do without his more active partner Reiner. This is until he faces off with Armin once more, who he has a very interesting and underrated dynamic with. In this moment, Bertholdt tests himself to see if he is the same person who pathetically lost control before when faced with his former friends. And when Armin tries to pull the same trick he did before, Bertholdt doesn't lose control. He has an epiphany and he realizes that this entire conflict is meaningless. How he and Armin could have been friends, how he and Annie could have been together, had they been born in a world less cruel than theirs. He thinks back to Marco's dying words, realizes how much he just wants to talk things out with his friends, and he rejects that idealistic notion, embracing what he sees as reality. He realizes that he must do what must be done to survive. Bertholdt understands that this is not their fault, but he has no choice but to submit to his masters, because that is just how cruel the world is. This is all encapsulated in his amazing speech to Armin. He accepts true passivity. There is no hope of escaping the misery and suffering that define this world, and therefore the only way to survive is to embrace it. Now Bertholdt is a real threat. What makes him a great antagonist is that he is a man who has lost all hope for the future. He has lost all hope for anything but cruelty plaguing the world, and he becomes a slave to his own misery and nihilistic worldview. He has become complacent, he realizes his own weakness, and realizes how pathetic he truly is, and reinforces that by embracing the role he was given, because he sees no more meaning in life than that. That is why him facing off against Armin is so fitting. Armin represents hope and beauty in this cruel world. He doesn't give up or bend the knee. He looks on the bright side of things at all times, and he remains hopeful and enduring to the very end. He dies passing on that hope to his best friend Eren, as he falls to his death content and happy, knowing that eventually, his friends will help create the peaceful world he has always wanted to see his whole life. Now they will look at this hypothetical peaceful world for his sake. Meanwhile, Bertholdt dies a pathetic mess begging the very people he betrayed and hurt to save him as he is crushed in the jaws of Armin's Titan. He claims he doesn't care if he lives or dies, but when he is in the jaws of death, he once again cracks. His newfound resolve and bravery are shown to be merely temporary masks he wore to hide the pain and hopelessness he felt all along. He is suffering and hurting so much inside that he puts on a brave face and convinces himself that this is all his desire. When Armin, his narrative foil, proves that trying to change things for the better is the correct path to take. This isn't even Bertholdt's fault. He was a child destroyed by a corrupt system, and therefore he became the architect of his own destruction. Overall, Bertholdt's arc shows how cruel the world can be and how it turns innocent children into monsters that terrorize other innocents. It's an endless cycle of pain, death, and misery. In the end, Bertholdt realized this himself and embraced his new role, never having changed or thought to himself that maybe there is more to life than this. The status quo of endless killing and violence. Maybe in a world less cruel, Bertholdt could have been a better man, a man with dreams and ambitions, a man surrounded by friends and family who love him on his deathbed, a man remembered and cemented in history as a hero. But we will never know because he chose this fate for himself. He chose to become a complacent, twisted version of everything the Scouts stand for. And yet, I feel bad for the innocent boy he once was. What could he have had become had he not been born in such a cruel world? I hope that those who made it this far have their minds changed about Bertholdt and enjoy his character more because of this video. I really appreciate the subtle work Isayama put in to make him one of the most believable and human characters in the story. Is he as deep as complex as someone like Zeke, Reiner, or even Kenny? No. But he is indeed a very deep character and some thematic ideas built into his DNA that make him very satisfying to analyze and understand. That's all from me today. I'm thinking of making this into a series of sorts, as there are many characters that I think deserve more attention and love. So please comment below any underrated characters that you would like me to cover in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really love Bertholdt and I wanted this video to be one of my biggest, as my boy doesn't get enough love in the fandom. So please, if you wish to see me cover more obscure and underrated characters, support this video and share it around, like it and comment to add further input on what I could improve about the channel in the future. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter to see more of my Attack on Titan and other anime takes. Once again, thank you for supporting me on this journey, and until next time, this has been Quick Binger.